The recording is active. Welcome to another episode of Atlanteon. I am DM Mig the Merciless, and I am here with my son Antonio playing his Kobold Paladin, Paladoon. Antonio, would you like to describe Paladoon real quick?
Yes, he is a short-faced kobold. I think there's echo.
Try it now. Try it now.
Okay. So Paladin is a short-faced kobold, that is copper in color, and he has two kids. He comes from a former campaign. He is level 10 with well, he's currently level 9, but he will eventually become level 10 before the session is over. Um, the and he wields a +2 halberd and has a cave lizard mount named Dawn.
Excellent. So we joined Paladoon right as the end of the previous campaign happens. Paladoon and his two children escape escape from a fairy realm known as Prismere, and as his wish for having helped free Zablina, the fairy hag queen, uh, she grants them all a wish. And Paladin's wish is to have a safe place to go, uh, where he and his children can be safe. And that was your wish, right? Right, Paladin. Do you want to state what your wish was?
Yes, my wish is to go ahead and my wish is to be placed to be put into a place where I can easily and safely raise my kids.
And Zablina the fairy queen casts casts some fairy dust in the air, and a portal opens up to a dark cavernous space beyond that looks extremely inviting to you.
I go in with my kids.
You and your two children. What are your children's names?
Um,
We need to establish this anyway.
their names are Barb and Greg.
Barb and Greg. Of course, their names are Barb and Greg. That would have been the first thing that I would have thought. So you, Barb, and Greg step through, and it's a great big cavernous space. Your eyes take a few seconds to adjust. Your dark vision taking over, and you see that you are in a gigantic chamber. The ceiling is at least 300 feet above you, being held up by these grand vaulted columns that have gold dragons encircling each of them, set just seeming carved as part of the stone column. Uh, there is as you step around one of these columns, you see you see that the center area is a huge depression that is filled with treasure, unimaginable treasures of all shapes and sizes. There are galleries and galleries of all sorts of shining armor and weapons and unnameable artifacts that are held in seeming just shining bubbles that radiate a little bit of lightning around them, as they float in the middle of the air. And there's a a huge stone couch arising out of the middle of it that you can see just is just worn worn with the ages of scales laying across it and churning and sitting like a throne that's been sat upon for eons. Um, and you're looking out across this vast landscape of treasure and stone. When you hear a voice, and the voice says, "Hello there." The voice echoes a little bit.
Hello there.
Who's there? I heard you come in.
My name is Anton. Darn it. My name is Paladin. Um, I come here with my two children, Barb and Greg, seeking refuge in a safe place to raise them.
Hmm. Come closer.
I step forward.
You step forward to the very edge of the depression, and you look down, and you look down and standing next to, almost imperceptible, the across the landscape of treasure. You see what appears to be a short lizard that's kind of standing erect, but is obviously mostly sinuous, um, with a with a with a draconic head, but and draconic arms, but very worm shaped, and with a long flowing beard and mane, and branching horns that come from that come off the top of its head. Its scales are kind of a true shimmery highly reflective set of scales that seem to almost glow from within with with a powerful light. He looks up at you and waves. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, come closer. I heard
I
you
step
come in.
closer. I step closer.
Hmm. Tell me, who are you that comes so willingly into my den?
I'm a paladin of Paladine, seeking refuge for a safe place to raise my children.
Yes, Paladoon of Paladine. I know you. Welcome, my son. Long has my has long during your travels in the Feywild, I have watched you, and now you come to me. I am happy to see you. Welcome. I am Bahamut, but you have known me as Paladine.
Hmm. I thought there were two different gods.
No, we are the same. We share the same name. For in a time later, Bah- my true name has become more widespread. Also, those on different worlds also see me different. But here you are come to my inner sanctum. Come, let us go. And he begins walking on his or slithering, slowly, kind of like a little old man, just slithering a little bit as he goes. He says, "So tell me, I hear you. So you have had many adventures, but you, Barb and Greg, tell me of your adventures."
Uh, so yeah, Barb has been Barb and Greg, well, all three of us really, we uh, we we come from a small tribe in a in a land far off, and there was an inquisition against magical races from humans. They they went ahead and kicked us out of our out of our tribe because our dragon wasn't there to protect us. We escaped into the Feywild. Thought they got eaten. I thought my kids got eaten. Saw my wife get eaten by a Jabberwocky. Uh, I I was able to I was able to get to a I was able to get to a Fae city. Became a paladin. I became a paladin there. A service called. Went over to go ahead. I went through another portal to escape back into to go back into reality. Fought my oppressors. I freed the isle. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was called that the whole thing centered around a family called Ambers. Uh, then I went ahead and I then I went ahead and broke the curse. The entire landscape changed because the whole time travel thing happened there. I when exploring, I found this weird carnival place. Went in, I found a couple hags. I found a couple friends first. Then I then went into the Feywild. Liberated the Feywild from its oppressors, those being three hags. Um, went to the I went after that happened. Along the way, I was able to find my kids were not eaten. Instead, were captured by one of the hags, and one of them turned into a pig. Uh,
Was that you, young
eventually
man?
got better.
He
Hmm?
turned. He was that you, young one, and he's turning and he's actually he's looking up at your son, and your son looks at him kind of a little embarrassedly and says, "Well, no worries. There will be no I will be sure that no one polymorphs you here, and I will even teach you how to be resistant against such charms, should you choose." And your son and Greg says, "Yes, sir, that would be wonderful." And at the moment you were looking at them both in profile, and it strikes you how short how different you, Barb, and Greg look from Paladine, because they have the same draconic face, but they have but but your faces are short, like a first edition kobold, whereas they have longer, more draconic snouts, and that look more like Paladin, look more like Bahamuts. So the kobolds have a more draconic face, instead of the short-faced kobolds, which are more humanoid.
Hmm. Strange. By the way, we're in that little rant in that like little in that little I bet that you were talking about. Were you talking about Bahamut there, or were you talking about kobolds that were in the room around us?
The kobolds that are, well, actually, there are no other kobolds in the room around you. As a matter of fact, you don't see any other creatures aside from, there's just only Bahamut here. Everything else is either treasure, in a floating bubble as like a hanging version of collectibles, or a statue.
Well, I would have expected a dragon to have a more draconic face.
Well, yes, but but the but your but our but you are different. You are from a different place. So the three of you have a certain quality that perhaps may be sought after.
Hmm. Uh, how so would we be sought after,
Well,
and what trait would that be?
if you think about reality, young, tell me, what do you think happens when you make a choice?
um, I think that we uh, our future changes due to our choices, and if a choice were to be changed in the past, then entirely a different branch of reality would come off, and stuff like that.
Indeed, yes. Every choice you make, reality and time branch off into multiple directions because there's always a yes and a no, but there's also a maybe and a what if as well.
Hmm.
Some branches give spawns to entire new threads of time, and but one such as you, young one, and you, little one, and you, powerful little one, shall be very sought after. There are many who would attempt to make use of your abilities. You've now crossed the sea of treasure and you've been approaching this large stone couch that sticks up in the middle of the sea of treasure. And he begins leading you up a narrow ramp that you couldn't see before that is perfectly matched and pitched to blend into the stone until you're pretty much right up on top of
Hmm.
it. It completely disappears unless you are right on top of it. He starts slithering his way up. It's a little bit narrow, but because kobolds are naturally shorter in stature, it doesn't require any special dexterity checks or anything like that.
Hmm.
And it slowly winds its way around, and he keeps on slithering his way up. And he begins questioning your children on the things that they like and the things that they would like to do, and he appears to be having a conversation with both of them at the same time. Um, and 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 then he asks you a question at the same time, so that he appears to be speaking to all three of you at once.
Wow.
Having a conversation with all of you because he's a god. He can do that. Um, he said, as he's speaking to you, he says, "So, you have fulfilled your vow of retribution. You have gotten revenge on the one responsible that caused you to take your vow to me to begin with. So now it is time for you to contemplate a new path forward. Perhaps it is time for you to give up the path of anger. What path would you like to take aside from that?"
Hmm. Well, I would. Well, I do have my kids back now, so it would be a very important job for me to go ahead and protect them, and be as good as of a parent as possible to them, as as well as protect the society they're in. So not only are they protected, but all of their friends and their friends' friends
Hmm.
are protected as well.
Very well, I accept. I will accept your vow, and I will give you mine. That I will look after your children as my own, because, truthfully, you are my son, so they are my grandchildren, just like all of you are my children and grandchildren, and so on and so forth. Yes, something like that.
Hmm.
So of course they shall be. I shall take care of them personally. Come, let me. You know what? I shall appoint a special warden for them. Uh, Ragnar. Ragnar! And he claps his hands, and as he claps them, you see small lightning bolts uh, spark, and when he claps his hands together, almost like a flint and steel, sparks start, and the sparks fly up in fly up above, uh, up to a column that happens to be right next to it, and the sparks begin they seem to sink into the stone, along its the entire length of the statue that seems to be carved onto the stone, and it begins to glow, and the statue that's carved around the pillar that holds up the ceiling begins to glow, and begins to and begin and the statue slowly begins to move and uncoil as a massive ancient gold dragon begins to uncoil off of the column that it's holding up, and it looks down at those of you who are down who are climbing up the ramp, and it looks down with its great molten glowing eyes, and it says, "Yes, yes, yes, great one, you have awakened me. Tell me, what great task are you willing to are you ready to to appoint to me? Do you wish me to lead the armies against the orcish hordes once more, or would you like me to go and dam the headwaters of the mid-Terek Sea, or do you wish me to ascend to the heavens and wrest aside the comet that would have destroyed our brethren as I did millions of years ago?" And he looks down, and the lizard looks up at the giant gold dragon, and he says, "Ah, Ragnar, you have served me well for many millions of years, yet now I have a more important task for you. And come, look, these children here. They are to be entrusted to your care and educated according to the ancient ways." The gold dragon that looms over top of you begins to lean its head closer, looking like looking, and its mouth begins to open like it's going to swallow the three of you. As it gets closer, the head begins to shrink and change, and the body begins is just pouring forward into this form that's just kind of like shrinking and forming up in front of you from a a front pair of arms that are there in front of you, and it and this entire impossibly long coil just rolls forward, and almost like a tube a tube of elephant snot that's coming out of something. Well, reverse that image, so it looks like it's just all going back into the same spot. And when at last the tip of the tail uh, comes forward and hits it, it stops, and it stands, and slowly uncoils, and you see a kobold, this one with a long draconic tail, and a long draconic face with a long hatchet shaped snout. Looks at you and says, "Hello, children. I am Ragnar, general to to the armies of Bahamut. Many millions of years have I slept in this cavern, and now I am ready to awaken for a new task. Tell me, children, have you ever heard of Ragnar the Infinite?" And the children look up and go, "No." He says, "Come, let me tell you." And he takes each of them by the hand, and you've never seen either of the two of them hold hands with anyone aside from you, your wife, and I think Nilla was the only one that was ever like, okay, come on, kids, and your daughter was like, okay. Aside from that, to your knowledge, they've never wanted to hold anyone else's hand. And Ragnar begins to lead them up ahead, up the ramp, and it's just you and the little lizard who because he's so small moves a lot slower. And he says, "So tell me, you wish to you wish to protect, yes? Because your children
Yes.
your children now are taken care of. So now, if it if you truly wish to join the family, if you wish, I just wish you to know that what the vow that you are taking encompasses. For there is great change coming, Paladin. I believe you know this, or may know something of this. So tell me, what do you
Um. Well, for one, I was just told that I am very that I myself am very new to this place and into this new world I'm in. But other than that, I don't really know what else is changing and new.
know? Well, there were several that you came from this alternate place with, were there
Yeah,
not?
there were many.
Yes, there were several, and so now that means that there are several random random factors that were not part of the original equation that have been introduced. Tell me something. When you have a when you have a when you have an object in motion and you hit it with another object, what happens?
Uh, either the two forces cancel out, or they add together.
Or one alters the course of the other.
Yeah,
Indeed,
depends on which is the greater force.
indeed. So, everything is changing now. Your introduction into this place, all of your introductions into this place have seemingly knocked us somewhat askew. Come, I will show you what I mean. And you've
Okay.
reached the top of the plateau. Ahead of you is a it's it could imagine a place where a 1,000 foot long dragon would coil up and sleep for a few thousand years. This would be such a place. You can almost feel you can feel it's almost like a warm radiance that permeates you through your bond with Paladine. It's like this place is the spot that has known him for as almost as long as he's been around. So imagine it's kind of like having Christ show you around Bethlehem, saying, "Hey, here's where I live, dude." Even though Jesus was from Nazareth, you know. So you go see him in you you go meet him in Nazareth, and then he says, "Oh, hey, look, here's where I was born." That kind of thing. So that sort of thing. And he's stepping forward and begins to and he begin and he says, "Ah, yes, you wanted to see what you wanted to see this uh, here." And he reaches he stands and says, "Here, come stand here."
I do so.
Uh, yeah. So he he's reached. So he you stand next to him, and he reaches a hand out, and you see rising out of the center of it is this large crystalline surface. It's almost like a bubble of clear optical quartz just begins rising out of the middle of this couch where it was not before. And you see it begin to light up from within, and it projects over top of it. Uh, it projects an image across the entire cavern ceiling, um, in 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 bright full color, and across the entire cavern around you. It even glints a little bit off the sea of treasure around you, so you kind of get a little bit of a dazzling glow all the way around this entire couch, the entire stone plateau, and and it shows it shows the planet upon which you are standing, and it it begins to, so it's like the Earth looked at from orbit, and as it turns, uh, it begins zooming in slowly, and you see over the top of yourself, uh, and this is what you begin seeing from above. And this, my son, this is the celestial empire. This is the place where we live. Here is where we are now, in the Jade Emperor's palace. Deep which my palace is located deep underground. We have four smaller palaces: the Western Celestial Temple, the Northern Celestial Temple, the Eastern Celestial Temple, which is my contact with the Marine Realm, and the Southern Celestial Temple, which is my contact with with the Forest Realm. And we own everything in between. And there are a lot of people that live here, are there not? If you, as I'm sure you can imagine, all within the empire pay tribute to me, even though my power extends much farther than here, obviously. But here is is the center of our realm. Here is where the people to choose to give me their love, as you have. Perhaps not as strongly as you have, but I am connected to all of them. And let me tell. So, yeah, so young one, you wish to protect your family, yes?
Yes.
Yes. So this is this is our homeland. However, and he begins paging through maps and says, "Ah, yes, here we are. But this is the entire world, and it's hanging above you in three dimensions. The globe is turning." And he says, "There's life all across this entire world, and even farther, and even more so." And it begins zooming out even more, and begins to show you it zooms out far enough to where you can see the moon in its orbit as well. Uh, and it says, even here in the moon, in the large moon and the small moon, and you see a second, much smaller moon, going by as well. Um, both all all showing life on both of them. Um, he says, and here, these people venerate me as well. And it then zooms out to the entire solar system. You see there are five small planets that orbit close into the sun, and then there's four giant planets that orbit farther out, and then countless small worlds that orbit out past that. And you just see that there's life everywhere. And he says, all of these pay tribute. There are those who pay tribute to me all around here. And then it zooms out even farther to our solar system becomes just a speck floating, just a little bubble on the outside of a larger bubble of just seas of worlds and such. And it says, across all of these are we known. All of these are my family. Do you wish to take a vow to preserve all of this?
Um, as much as I can, yes.
Hmm. Yes.
I doubt I can travel the entire perimeter of it in even a lifetime.
Hmm. One lifetime is what maybe more than what you anticipated, maybe, especially for those who have come from other places. There may be other effects of your displacement that, uh, shall we say, gives you certain abilities that others do not have. Things that even am unable to foresee. But let it be known, there are those who hunt you, young one. Even
Really?
now. Yes, already intrusions have there been. Looking, questing for you. Or your children. One such intrusion was unfortunately known to me. His name is Mit. He is a chronomancer from the Yuan-Ti city of Asala, which, on the map, if you wish to look, is located here above the above the in the very tip of the southern sea.
I think you. I think you ended the stream.
Oh, I did. Yeah, because I was talking about planets and stuff. So it is located here, and he points, and a little star, and a little 8-pointed star goes bing in the projection on the Yuan-Ti city of Asala, where this right in the very narrowest finger of the southern sea. He,
Hmm.
I'm not sure what he was looking for, but he appears to be looking for a certain frequency that is resonant with the great word, with the great word of power, the word of creation. And he appears to be and he from the brief interrogation that was reported, he appears to be interested specifically in you and your children.
Wow. Oh. Um. Okay then. So I think threats would come to me then.
Yes, eventually it is undoubted that he will eventually come after you again. I do not think that he will dare to violate the sanctum here, which is why I believe that it is I and Ragnar that must care and teach your children. Besides, I haven't had any direct pupils in, oh, it seems like forever. How long has it been, Fergumnir? And you hear a voice from one of the columns, like two or three rows back. You see a pair of glowing eyes glow and says, "It's been 137,000 years, Great One." And the eyes fade out in the darkness. It says, "Ah, yes, 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 indeed." So tell
Wow.
me, so tell me, newly minted Knight of Protection, how is it do you think that you need to serve? You have special you have knowledge in this matter past what even the eyes of the gods may see. For we cannot see into the world from which you came.
Um. Well, for one, I do have a warning for both you for both you and some other gods. Um, time is able to be permeated, so don't even expect enemies who have been long dead to stay dead. They might come back either through time travel or some other means.
Humans.
Hmm?
Humans who are dead?
Um, from what I know, yeah.
Tell me,
There's and
what do you
another.
know of humans?
Yes, there were many there are many from where I come from.
Indeed. And what became of these humans?
Um, Many things. Not all of them were bad or evil or anything. Most of them, but but most of them strived for their most of them strived for their own personal glory, and the and even if they didn't know it, were pledging themselves to evil.
Hmm. Indeed.
And also, here's my warning to you. Um, Back where I'm from, uh, Paladine got overthrown by Groomsh, and let's say stuff hit the fan.
Hmm. So, in your dimension, I was defeated by Groomsh One Eye.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and
That is a dark
I-
fate indeed.
yeah.
Is
Uh,
that
uh,
the energy that you carry with you, Paladoon of Paladine?
no, I fought against the evil, and when I eventually when I eventually I cured the land of it, I got transported to this place.
Hmm. Yes. Before this place is the one place that you knew that you would be safe and accepted. Indeed.
Um, well, not really. It was kind of like when you go back in time, and when you make a big change, like for instance, like if you were to go ahead and if you were to go ahead and I don't know, remove an entire species or something, that like if you were to go ahead and get rid of like the first mosquito, it would cause like an entire the entire destruction of the new incumbent species of mosquitoes in the next one,
Hmm.
and there would be a there would be a new parasite species that might be even worse than mosquitoes from that.
Indeed. You understand
So
much of the world, young one. Uncharacteristic of your species to be interested in the ways of science and such. Are all Were all of your people so inclined?
um well we uh, we all lived on an island, so and it was a pretty smart dragon that ruled that led us.
Hmm.
Um, and I also had a pretty good I also had a pretty good math and science teacher, so that also helped.
Indeed. Perhaps I shall. Perhaps I shall need to revisit the status of kobolds in our society as well.
I highly recommend that they should, if they're not already getting a good a good. I recommend if they're not getting all that well of an education that they really should, since they can definitely understand it.
Indeed. And he reaches a claw up, and the projection collapses. Well, perhaps we shall see how this system reacts to change, shall we? Hmm. You have given me much to think on. Hmm. Already you protect the realm. You shall do well, young one. For now, take rest, and know that you are well protected and safe. You have earned, I would say, at least a week of sleep after your ordeals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, another thing. Um, I chose mosquitoes not at random. They are a menace to me, but that is supposed to be an analogy to Grimshin. What happened in my time, when I was going ahead and messing around with time to go ahead and remove a problem.
Hmm?
So just like that problem, uh, something always is going to go ahead and fill in the place of whatever is removed in the ecosystem we're in. So in my timeline, it was Groomsh, but since I stopped that from happening, it might be something way worse
Hmm.
this time.
Indeed. Wise words indeed. Perhaps we should go enjoy a repast with the children. Come. And he claps again. He claps again. You see similar sparks, and he throws them in a kind of like in a gay circle around him, and it goes and makes little sparkles that tinkle down over the two of you, and you look around at them and you realize that the cave around you is fading away, and instead you're now in a kobold size feasting hall
Hmm.
with a large hearth, um, and now when you turn to look at him, Paladine is now kobold shaped. Uh, he still has the longer draconic face that is the same for all the kobolds of this world. Um, but he's but he but and he walks in, uh and the two of you appear here, and you can tell the place is already astir. There are servants in Paladine's livery, running back and forth like an anthill that's been kicked already. And then they see then the two of you appear, and everyone just kind of stops, like, and the room full of kobolds are all long faced kobolds, and they're stops like, the boss. And he steps forward. He's like, yes, it's good to see you all. Come, just bring some food. Everyone, come, sit and eat. It is time for all everybody take some time off and come. Have them all come. Bring food for everyone. And the tables sprout a feast that so the servants aren't having to prepare anything. He says, "Yes, all of you, you all have this day. This day shall be a day of celebration. the day that our brother Paladin and that our brother Paladin and his children Barb and Greg come to join us. Come, sit, eat. Today shall be a feast day. All shall welcome." And all the kobolds in there just kind of like, really, really, oh, oh, and they're like, oh, oh, and they all start coming, and before you know it, there's a huge banquet of basically all of the servants in Bahamut's palace that are coming and enjoying a free feast at your behalf, because at your behest. Ugh. Kobold children. I keep kicking the chair we brought in here. Uh, the there are kobold children of all ages coming up to meet the kids. They're like, wow, really? And like they're touching noses, and they're touching your kids' noses, and your kids are meeting them as well, and uh, and appear to be getting socialized into society.
So I have a question for the for the I have a question for Paladine.
Okay.
Uh, so why is it that we're all getting so much attention? Uh, and I also see that that the other kobolds here, they're all visibly different.
Yes, indeed. That is one of the first things I noticed about you and your children.
Hmm.
Interesting interesting that such things have changed. I often find, do you not, uh, since you appear to be of learned of in your from your world, do you not find that interferometry is a good way to study something?
Yeah.
Tell me,
I
do you
I
understand what interferometry is?
um basically a change from long ago has very big changes very very far in the future, or not at all, through cancellation, or through cancellation of the event, either from the event eventually happening anyways, or a future important event never happening in the first place.
Oh well, you're discussing geospatial rippling and time wave distortion. However, what I'm discussing is interferometry, which is the process of looking at something many times and seeing what changes to discover something.
Hmm.
When you live to be very old, you will be able to assess things and see the cycles in things as the same as the weather changes as the planet spins slowly around its axis. For when you look in the sky, the large moon is always directly over the equator, and the small moon orbits around it. Yes, of course, it's been that way forever. However, this just this just shows us the gyroscopic principle. For shouldn't the small moon be drawn down and smash against the planets? Yes, indeed, you would think it would. However, it remains captured around its center of gravity. Thus is matter knotted together, and when you look and find the snipped stitches, that is where something can split apart. But no, what I wish you to protect us against is this young one. He shows a picture of the solar system as it's slowly orbiting the galactic center. And he says, "Do you see how all the worlds around us, they all exude an aura of energy, and these overlaps of energy show the bumps and the grooves of space-time, the changes in reality, the things that cause events, great changes in our society. Well, here we are, is us. And he brings and he points at and a little 8-pointed star radiates, bing, and shows the crystal sphere through which through in which you live, uh, as it floats through the astral sea, um, and it and you can see that that the trajectory that it's going on takes it away from everything else around it, like it's going into almost like a sea of nothingness. So almost as if it's entering a dead zone. And literally, the crystal sphere is almost right up against it, almost up against the boundary.
Wow.
Yes, as the boundary of space time would go, we are being hurled away from everything. This happens about every 128 million years. And now we've come to the end of a great cycle. And now the age is about to change, young one. And there is much to protect against. Inward we shall go, as we have suffered every one of the last great calamities. In the in true draconic fashion, we shall dig underground and sleep, and we shall abandon the upper world to its calamity.
So why not? So why do we dig underground? Why don't we go up to the surface and help like everyone else that's up there?
Certain changes we have. Our race has lived a long time, Paladin, and many things have changed over the eras. First there was the ti first there was the time of great fire, and then the time of great ice, and then the great ice again. Many times have things changed. You cannot stop evolution. When you kill the first mosquito, another one evolves, and then another one, and another one, and you can keep swatting them as long as you wish, but eventually they will return. Let me tell you, as one who has swatted many mosquitoes in my time. Like a hydra, you slay one, two more heads appear. Many times have I interfered in the fate of this planet. But there are some times when my interference would make no real difference at all. And there are other times when even gods have their limits.
Really?
Indeed. My power is limited only as far as where one of the faithful extends. This isn't something that most deities would tell you. But yes, I can only see as far as those who love me extend my vision.
Were you able to see into my like? There's plenty more, and there's plenty more paladins and paladins and priests and clerics and stuff like that in my my original in my original in my original timeline. So why is that you can't see there?
Because that was a different paladine, a different version of me in a divergent reality.
So you can see across space, but not time.
I can see across space and time, but not across dimensions. Alternate timelines, they're alternates of me, the same as they're alternates of you. Just like I am here, and in your reality, I was I was overcome by Groom Shwanai.
You were overcome by grooms in that in that island. I highly doubt that his reach extended over all of your over all of your kingdom in the rest of the in the rest of Toril.
Hmm. Indeed. Perhaps there is something about this place that he seized. Hmm. Tell me, where did this happen in your reality? Do you know where?
Um. Well, it's it happened in like it happened. Well,
He says, "Come here," and he
yes,
says, "Come here, dear boy," and so you lean closer to him, and he reaches his hand out and touches your temple, and you immediately and you begin to see your adventures and your entire life just flashing before your eyes. Your eyes roll up into your head as Bahamut uses your mind like a Rolodex and begins to flick through your memories. You see you see happy times with you when you were first courting your wife. You see when the two of you first both both mingled your blood together in with your palm to palm to seal to seal you together on your wedding day. You remember flashes through the hatching of your children, and the and your subsequent wanderings through the the Feywild, uh, and comes to a screeching halt when you come out of the Fey portal, uh, chasing chasing Amanda the fairy princess, and he says, "Here, here, you went somewhere where you weren't supposed to."
yes, I remember. Uh, I I believe I was in like a place called Averone.
Averone. Yes. Uh, 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 Farsmake! Farsmake! And, you know, where's Averone? And often the distance you hear a voice, disembodied voice out of nowhere, uh, saying it's in the northwest continent on the edge of the Saltlands, great one. And he says, "Ah, yes, thank you very much." And he be- and he pulls a small clear crystal quartz globe out of his hand, or from inside the sash that he wears, and it begins to project an image of, oh, that's ugly. That's ugly. That's a bad, ugly version of the map that I do not like. Unfortunate this is. Because this my in work. That's my in progress in progress folder. Blah. Yuck. Sorry. Buffering. Okay. Well, he shows you a map of Averone, uh, that you have seen before. Um, maybe. No, I didn't have one. Okay. So he shows you. So, oh, you know what? He shows you a map of Averone, and he says, "Here, you are here," and you see yourself on, and the and the globe shows an image of a mountain that has a river springing from the side of it, on top of which is a, what is it?
That I do remember being upon that mountain, but there's one big difference. The Aberon where I walked out of that of that Feywild portal was surrounded by an ocean. Oh, like, and my people and everyone else on that island used to call it the Sea of Fallen Stars.
Hmm. Indeed. Perhaps you could find out more about this Sea of Fallen Stars.
There was this myth that I was told at some point in my history class where 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 this where some where there was a great falling out between all the gods, and they and one of them decided to go ahead and put them all into and put all the fighting gods into all the gods that were at war with each other in, into a single human avatar, and sent them down into I sent them down to Earth, and they all landed in a conjugated area, and it eventually created a bunch of it made a bunch of craters, and it eventually filled in with water, and the single peak that and the single island that appears in the that was in the middle of this giant saltwater sea was the was the was I don't quite remember the name for it right now, but it was an island. But it was the island that Averone and my city was on, and the city I was at was on.
Indeed. Here, Averone refers to a region on the edge of the on the edge of the salt lands, which were actually one of Ragnar's greatest accomplishments. And Ragnar, sitting there with your children, says, "Yes, it was a great accomplishment. Being a, it was great. It was a great earthwork of engineering in order to hold back the ocean, to create to to keep the people's lands from flooding." Thankfully, it hasn't been necessary for millions of years, or for millions of years, for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands, no, tens of thousands of years. It's been tens of thousands of years since the ocean levels even approached even a quarter of the way, or even 3/4 of the way up the bulwark.
Really?
Yes, we have managed to successfully hold back the ocean for generations of generations, and it's what allowed the mortals to build across the entire region and spread so quickly. One of the
So,
one of the
yeah.
reasons we were able to diversify them so wonderfully.
Mhm.
Paladine looks at you and says, "Well, yes, of course. Who did you think all of those different mammalian creatures would have evolved on their own? We help and
Yeah.
guide them and shape them over the millennia."
How strange. I seem to remember back when in my science class, learning about evolution and stuff like that, and how creatures evolved on their own.
Oh yes, of course, but you know, when you are trying to create proper herd animals, you pick out the best ones and you breed those. And so
So,
we diversified the mammalians and all creatures across the globe.
So why did you make all the Valian races?
Oh well, they were already beginning to come to a sort of of awakening of of consciousness, and so we simply needed to manage that. Things have happened poorly in the past when some creatures gained consciousness on their own without being shepherded, but that was really my sister's tinkering.
So what did happen to the and to those unshepherded race to those unshepherded races?
Well, depending, I mean, most of them have gone to extinction.
How so?
Well, they create a civilization that is not that does not live up to the standards of the global community, and so they are removed.
That seems harsh.
Well, when you've got one community that threatens the rest. When you have a cancer in your body, do you let it grow?
No,
No.
but that's a entirely and that's different because a cancer is a it's more of a revolution than it's more of a revolution within a city than a than a pop than a cancer is more a revolution within a city than a city in a on a continent, and because each city can be seen as their own it can be seen as their own organism, and you can convince the organism, but not really. You can't really steer a revolution away from hitting from hitting a turning point unless you forcefully block it. But the you can easily convince one creature, and you can easily convince a leader of a city to go ahead and stop what it's doing, either through reprimanding and stuff like that.
He waves over at one of the revelers who brings him a couple of flagons of wine, and he hands one to you and says, "I raise a toast to all of I raise a toast to all of those who to all of those who to whom I've attempted to get them to see reason, and then had to remove from evolution."
Hmm.
Would that some would were able to change their hearts, but not all will. However, perhaps since you have come from come since you emerged in Solaire, perhaps that is a good first place for you to look for any of the seeds of corruption that you found before.
Yeah. So,
You said you emerged from a Fae portal there.
well, that I emerged from a Fae portal in the previous timeline because that I was from. I I I went ahead and eventually searched searched for some ancient relics. One of them being a potion of space and time. Another one being others being being magical weapons. One of them being able to talk, and another one I go ahead and take out my halberd and put it put it onto the ground. Another one being this one. I put it back on my back.
That is a relic of your world.
Yes,
May I see it, please?
yes. I take it off my back and show it to him.
So you put he takes the halberd from you, and looks at it, and says, Yes, yes, I can feel the influence of my brother inside it. Tell me, brother, sing your song for us. And he begin
Cat, stop.
and he begins singing the cat like a cat.